AITA for not giving my sister her wedding dress because she didn't invited my underage son. I, 40 meters, have a sister, 30F, who is getting married in a week. The groom proposed to her a year ago at a family dinner that left everyone speechless, but very happy for them as they are longtime companions. During this dinner, my sister asked my son, 17 meters, to make her wedding dress. My son has always loved design and fashion. He took technical courses in these areas and sewing, and even his friends keep asking for his clothes because they are so beautiful. He agreed, but said that he needed time and that he would need her opinion constantly. At first my sister was very annoying. My son drew about 50 dress designs in a month and she only liked one, which he continued with. He sewed it with great quality fabric which I paid for as I wanted to get involved in a certain way. For 5 months he made several adjustments to suit her wishes, as she always complained about something. After a while, he arrived at the final model and it was just amazing. My mother cried seeing my sister in the dress and I confess that I almost got emotional too. The problem was that last week my son came to talk to me about the wedding invitation that had not arrived for him, but for other family members. I thought maybe he didn't need one, but it still felt weird. I messaged my sister raising this issue and she replied that she didn't want any underage people at her wedding because there would be alcohol. I asked if she was going to make an exception for my son, but she cut me off and said no. There are no children in our family. My son is the only minor, so I didn't see any sense in this rule for family members. And to make matters worse, my son was very sad and cried because he spent months on this dress and couldn't go to the wedding. I was very upset and told my sister that she should look for another dress as soon as possible, as she would no longer wear the one my son made. She called and yelled at me, saying I was being unreasonable and that I couldn't do this. My mother called me saying I should deliver the dress and follow the rules, but I didn't and hung up on her. Because of this, the family is divided. Many agree with me and condemn my sister's actions, saying she could only make an exception, but another part says I'm unreasonable and I'm spoiling her big day. I don't think I'm being wrong but just rational and paying her back in kind. So AITA. Update. First I would like to thank all the comments and suggestions. I really didn't expect my post to resonate so much. I talked to my son about the suggestions you guys gave me and he agreed to sell the dress at market price. He calculated the price of everything and the value was quite high. We sent the proposal to my sister and she hated it. She said she couldn't afford it because it was too expensive and it should be a gift because she is family. I responded by saying that it was too easy to say she was family to get a free dress, but not enough to include my son. She cried on the call and begged me not to ruin her day, but I didn't call because that to me was. At no point did she offer to just let my son go or apologize for it. And for anyone who said that maybe she's homophobic, I'm not sure, but I think who could be influencing her is her fiancé, who is a Christian and has never been close to my son. However, I don't care if he's doing it or not. If she wants to exclude my son from this event, then she will also be cutting ties with me. And for those who are asking for a photo of the dress, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but my son didn't agree and unfortunately I won't post it because of that. If anything else happens I'll let you know. Until then, thank you all.
NTA. If she is willing to make an adult-sized request of a 17-year-old, she should be willing to accept him as an adult. There is also no reason that a minor cannot attend a wedding with an open bar, as every venue I looked at for my wedding, an ever open barred wedding I have attended, has had a bartender that checked IDs.
He made the dress and wasn't invited. And so close to 18 too. Your sister is charge her for the dress, and make sure to account for time spent designing, too.
Well, if he's not invited he doesn't need to give a gift. She should pay for the dress, and if she doesn't you're NTA.
So your sister can't have children at her wedding, but use your son as child labor to make her wedding dress? She's tough.
NTA, but your sister definitely is. She doesn't want her almost adult nephew who designed and made her dress at her wedding because there would be alcohol. I could understand if she didn't want to make an exception for a friend, or even a cousin. making an exception for her only minor nephew, especially given that she could have pointed him out when people asked about the dress, would have been not only understandable but practically obligatory to anyone hearing about the have to wonder if she was even planning on letting anyone know who was the designer and tailor of the dress.
If minors are not invited due to alcohol, then it's not appropriate to wear a dress made by a
NTA. What an move of her not inviting the person who is making her dress, for her to pay for the dress or invite him, her decision.
NTA. The aunt, FAFO, shouldn't mess with the dressmaker. But whatever you do, charge her for the dress. It's priceless, sure. The problem is, you're setting a precedence to your relatives in place of your son. Now a lot of your relatives are gonna expect a free wedding dress because it happened once. Yes, your son is still learning. Yes, you paid for the fabric. It's still worth months of his work, his labor. Whether or not you give the dress to her, charge her. Especially since she was difficult to work with. Go to a small claims court if you have to, so that your son won't be taken advantage of in the future.
NTA. Your sister is a piece of work. She's fine with unpaid child labor, but not 5 with inviting a child to an event with alcohol. Makes sense.
NTA. He should go and wear the dress.
NTA. I was at a wedding a few weeks ago, open bar, kids allowed. Everyone had it. There are no other kids. This rule is aimed directly at your son. It's a power trip.
Info. Is your sister willing to pay your son for the dress, and are you going to continue to withhold it if she does?
Yes, you can have your dress. That'll be roughly £4,000, thank you. NTA.
I know people like child-free weddings, but if you have only one underage person in your whole family and they're 17, they're surly, and if he's mature enough to make your dress, he's mature enough for a wedding with alcohol.
Mail the dress to her as your wedding present. Schedule delivery for the venue during the reception. Say, oops, I wasn't sure of the date, time, because I wasn't. Congratulations.
And it should be the full retail cost for a similar dress.
Yeah, I said the same thing, but I agree with you. If she pays full retail for a custom dress, taking into account the number of hours he worked on it, then I say let her have it. That's going to be a lot of money for a 17-year-old. Otherwise, people who aren't invited don't give gifts.
And if she says she will pay it, make sure she pays in full before you hand the dress. May say whatever to get the dress and then renege after.
Wait, she not only wants him to make the dress, not attend, but she isn't paying anything for the dress? What the actual duck? Op should have make it very clear that she can buy the dress for not even retail, what it would actually cost to buy a custom-made dress plus asshole tax. Op is obviously NTA but needs to start making sure that the son gets paid properly for every project from now.
He's responsible enough to make a wedding dress, but heaven forbid he should be around alcohol. Who knows what would happen?
Right? This is totally child labor.
I also can't help but note that the sister knew, probably months in advance, that she didn't want her nephew at the wedding. But she failed to mention it to him, or anybody, while the dress was being made, and only made it clear once the dress was done. She knew exactly what she was doing and was hoping everybody involved would be too spineless to stop her.
From a European perspective, I am shocked every time by this nonsense about minors and alcohol. Children here in Europe see adults drinking on so many occasions. That is absolutely no problem and also serves as a role model for how to deal with alcohol and how not to.
I'll talk to him and suggest it, but I'm not sure he'll agree.
You know it's bad when AITA says to wear a wedding dress to somebody else's wedding.
Tears of joy would definitely be unexpected. She didn't suggest it, and I won't either. My son spent months and a long time making this dress. This is priceless, but it has a lot of sentimental value to him.
With option number 1 above, if Op goes this route, he should not only charge for materials, but also for cost of labor. They should estimate exactly how much time was spent constructing this dress, going through fittings, adjusting, etc. and charge an hourly rate on top of the materials.
It's not my fault she was late to send out the invitations.
I was recently bridesmaid at a child-free wedding where one of the guests was 16 because, you know, she was mature enough to join in the adult conversations and not require any supervision. Like most teenagers that age.
Oh, I'd rather put a price tag on that thing that equates to how much she hurt her nephew, like $10K. If she doesn't like the price, she can find a different dress in a week.
Unpaid child labor at that.
My understanding of child-free weddings has always been that the goal is to avoid having young, disruptive kids around. I don't see why that rule would apply to teenager, especially older ones, who don't need constant supervision, can handle themselves around a couple, tipsy adults, and won't be disruptive during the ceremony.
Yeah, never understand those posts. There was never a problem at any wedding I have been to, and they all have kids and alcohol there.
Don't put the burden of this fight on him though. This is a case where it's not his responsibility to shoulder, but yours to take charge as an adult and show him how not to let people take advantage of. Offer the sister to buy the dress or buy a new one, then ice her and your mother out until they apologize to your son. And explain to him that none of this is his fault, but sometimes people try to take advantage in life and it's absolutely your right to stand up to them and not be a doormat.
Minimum $2,000, minimum. Custom-made wedding dresses go for easily over $12K.
So wait. Your son is old enough to design and make her wedding dress, but not old enough to attend her wedding. NTA.
You have two options with the dress. Your son can sell it. I would take photos of him and post it for sale on Facebook. Or he can sell it to your sister at a price that would be sold in a boutique.
I'm sorry you're in this mess. This is one of the clearest cases of NTA I've seen. How cool that your son has that talent. You must be proud. I hope this works out in a peaceful way, but rest assured that you are correct in this situation.
NTA. Got to ask. Did your sister even pay your son for this wedding dress? All the work he did, all the design, etc. was priceless. But I hope she paid him and agreed up on price. Regardless, if she won't let you back 17-year-old son who made her wedding dress come to see her wearing it at her wedding, then she's in awe and shouldn't have the dress. Everyone telling you to cave is just trying to placate this woman, and I bet if it was their child involved, they'd expect an invite.
It's not priceless, even though it has sentimental value for him, which is now maybe lost due to your sister's treatment of a similar dress style, and tell your sister she'll need to pay the full retail price.
There is a good chance she waited until her dress was done, and then sent out the invitations because she did not want to risk your son stopping work on the dress.
The teenagers might even be the most well-behaved people at the wedding. My brothers were 14 and 16 at my cousin's wedding. They ate cake, sat on their phones, refused to dance, and hung out with their grandma.
$10K is probably less than what it would have cost her if her nephew hadn't been doing it as a personal favor, with OP paying for all of the materials. 50 designs drawn up, the entire dress being handmade, expensive fabrics, 5 months of labor costs. $10K for all of that would be a reasonable price for a non-wedding dress. Once you factor in the fact that people charge way more for anything that involves a wedding, $10K would be a steal.
I think $10K is actually reasonable for a custom handmade dress. Maybe add a lil on top for bridezilla tax, $12K? Your son could buy a car with that.
I was curious about inviting him to the wedding or not paying him. How TF does she think that's okay?
This needs to be boosted 10x higher. I wish I had an award to give you so it gets noticed more.
Exclusive design, multiple changes, custom fitting. Try $15,000 as a starting point.
Plus the wedding is where people will be seeing and complimenting his work. It's really cruel to make him miss out on that.
Great suggestion. I would go on the basis the son had done this as a wedding present, favor, but since he is not invited and part of the wedding, she will have to pay for it. At least she still has the option of having selling the dress to your sister or privately is the only option now, since the son is never going to feel truly part of the wedding now. Even if he gets an invite, it will only be so she can get her hands on the dress for free.